Hi, this is Anirban Saha, and you're listening to one new episode of the Global Wildlife Fair podcasts. Today, our guest is Mr. Jose Louies, who is the CEO of the Wildlife Trust of India. From spearheading anti poaching initiatives to bringing innovations and digital tools into conservation practice, his work has bridged both field realities and modern IT solutions. In this conversation, we dive deeper into how we use IT and AI in transforming the way we protect the wildlife, why it matters to all of us, what specifically we use, and whether or not uh, this is feasible in the longer run. Yose, thank you so much for making time for this specific conversation.
Hi, good evening, Anirban. Thank you very much for inviting me for this show. Very happy to share some experience as we discussed earlier. Yeah, we'll be discussing conservation and technology today.
At the onset, let's define the scope of the conversation so that we set the expectation with the audience. So, when we mention IT and AI, what exactly do we mean, and what does that entail? Because these are very broad terms. So, what specifically would we be touching on?
Anirban, if you're asking me, we'll be talking about various technological innovations or various technology tools which are used in wildlife conservation these days, and also how these things evolved from various basic technologies. What was the need, how these things came up, and what is currently going on, and what is the future. So that's broadly what we'll be discussing. Maybe we'll touch upon some of these things which are already implemented. And that's how I would like to continue this discussion.
Okay, so let's dive directly to the topic. I have gone through two of your projects, Hawk and Sarpa, and I'm fascinated. So, you have led projects like Hawk and Sarpa, which has brought technology to the front line, right? Could you walk us through these systems and how these systems actually work in the field?
So both systems, both Hawk and Serpa. So if I look at it, why we needed to develop technology? So there was a need for something. So if I look at the case of Serpa, so there I would like to talk about how these things started and how it is evolved. So Serpa is actually a mobile application which is providing services today, like what do you call rescue of snakes. But it started as a website way back in 2010. We wanted to replace a book with a website those days. That if you want to, I mean, personally, I was interested in snakes and I was doing a bit of snake work, and I thought every time you don't find a book, so why don't we make a website so that it's accessible for people, basic facts about snakes. So then that was a website, and then we put photographs together, descriptions. It became like a digital field guide kind of a thing website, and then later in 2015 we thought, why don't we convert this into a mobile application? Because from time to time technology updates. Like when we started in 2010, there was no concept of full-fledged mobile application. 2015, you need a mobile application, so you converted your website into a mobile application that is still not interactive. In 2017 we thought, why don't we use this to do something like recording of venomous species which people rescue. So then it became an interactive application where people can rescue snake and they can update it. Then in 2020, we said, no, we want to upgrade it a little more because it was COVID and we were sitting idle and doing nothing. So we thought that why don't we develop some technology? And if I make it very simple, the thought process was very, very, very basic. If you can order food online, if you can find a cab online using your mobile phone, why can't you find a snake rescuer or a snake expert in case of an emergency? Or can't you find a hospital in case of a snake bite emergency? So that was the need. So these technologies actually evolve when you have a need. So then you develop and then you start implementing and you experiment with the technology. And now today, Sarpa is actually a platform in Kerala, which is full-fledged across the state. It is implemented. In last 5 years, we helped more than 60,000 cases where a snake entered into somebody's house. So they used the mobile application to find the nearest rescuer. and the snake was rescued, people were happy. So that's how the technology bringing solutions. Almost the same thing for hawk. Is that hawk is today, it is used in 4 different Indian states. Hawk is it's in the beginning stage, it is in the fledgling stage, I say, hawk as a project. But again, this was a response to the need for a platform which can centrally manage all the information about forest and wildlife crime, starting from the detection of a crime through all the documentation, all the data management, real-time data analysis, information exchange, everything. So you bring computer technology into practice, useful for conservation. So that is how these 2 projects started. And it is evolving. That's another thing, that there is no end to technology development. You develop version 1, then you develop version 1.1, you will find one more feature, you add one more feature, you find a bug, you fix it. So it's an ongoing process. So that's in a nutshell, that's the journey of these 2 projects.
In both of these apps, the first use of IT is making website, making a user app on the phone, people uploading photographs or data or reporting something. So that is in a way communication. In both of these apps, you have prediction features.
Yes.
Right? How does that work?
See, prediction can happen, or you can look at predictive models only when you have a lot of data. So the first thing is that you have to gather a lot of data. So for example, if I look at the SERPA database, certain cities, I know when it rains or when it is certain months, there is a particular species which there will be more rescue calls, or a particular time of the day. So that when you have a large number of data, see, for example, I got about 25,000 or 25,000 plus records of cobras being rescued. So okay. when you gather all this information, then you use various analytical tools on that, then you will be able to find patterns. So then you program the system in such a way that this will be in a real time, it will be it will be analyzed. It is not yet, both the programs are not yet fully functional at a predictive model, because I prefer another couple of more years to analyze data. Evolve. So prediction, many times people say that, your software can predict. No, software needs a lot of data input. Like the more data input, the more number of years you use it, the more number of data points which you enter into the system, the more powerful the system will become. I say that it is like a human being. You're acquiring. So we are going to talk about AI or artificial intelligence or all these things. It is basically you're giving large chunks of data to the system and programming the system to analyze this data and come up with scenarios. So
insights.
Yeah.
So it is like under certain conditions we have found a snake.
Yes.
Now, given present conditions, what is the probability of finding a snake in your area?
Yeah, let me put it in this way. Like, if I'm getting a particular species, say for example, I'm finding cobra hatchlings in the month of May when it rained a lot, or after 15 days of rain. So I'm looking at various things. I'm looking at various data sets, like it's raining and I'm getting more reports of cobra, and also a particular geographical location. So when you correlate this data with the location, a time, and certain factors like rain or temperature difference, so computer in the background, computers are processing this data, and then they are predicting, okay, if it rains and if the temperature is this much and this is the particular landscape, then there is a possibility of finding more cobra hatchlings. And that's one model. So over a period of time, this will improve and the accuracy will improve and the systems will start predicting almost accurately. So that is what is all these predictive models. Or in Hawk, if you look at it, there is a possibility, like for example, if I'm finding a particular, these are complex software, so I'm trying my level best to simplify it. So in Hawk, which is a crime monitoring system, what we have to do is that we are looking at various factors, like presence of a person, presence of a vehicle which passed through a particular check gate, or somebody made a phone call to somebody. These are various data points. So these data points are added through various mobile platforms or apps into the system. So that is when the system will say that, okay, fine, if Anirban came to a particular city and made 2 phone calls to Jose Louies, and Jose Louis's vehicle, which is registered in his brother's name, was seen in that place, there is a probability of both of them engaged in a criminal activity if we are classified as criminals in our system. So that is how the systems will predict. See, please don't think that computers do have this magical power to do everything. It's all what you teach the computer. Unlike a lazy student or a lazy human being who can be fatigued, who can be on a bad mood day and all, computers don't have any of that. Computers, once you feed data, they are always there, they're up, they will start churning and processing this data. So it's like it's like putting a large number of brains together, which is not going to get tired. I'm going to not going to complain that I'm overworked. So it's all about the data which you put in. So that's how it works.
Another salient aim of having this session today, and reason why I kind of forced this session into the agenda of things, is I have come across people in the domain of wildlife who feel AI is like some magic. And as a data scientist myself, I keep telling them it's not magic, it's complete science, it's complete maths. Let's explore. But trust me, I'm extremely boring as a teacher. So I probably couldn't have done it. And the way you explained prediction models kind of taught me how boring I am when I explain things going forward.
Sorry, let me add here. See, the thing is that I never, I mean, if any of you sit here and think that, I'm a coding expert, I'm not a data scientist.
But you did computer science.
I did computer science. That was probably a generation back. My computer science was C, C++ and all. But the thing is
even mine was.
Yeah, my role here is to connect both the technology and wildlife conservation, convert the conservation requirement into the computer language. So what I say is that I create algorithms, I created, models. I'll say that this is what I want. This is the kind of data flow I want. This is the kind of thing I want in the system. So then there is a set of developers who will convert this into into a computer language. So that is how it works. It is not that, it's not one person's work. So
of course,
what I would like to say is that when you practically do something, then you exactly know what you need to assist you. That is when you develop the tool. I will even compare this to the very basic need of human being to have a sharper object in the Stone Age. Because you wanted to cut something and then it was not cutting. Then you found a sharp blade or a piece of stone. That is when you discovered that a sharp edge can cut things. So apply the same logic when it comes to developing technology. That also was a technology. So this is also a technology. Here I have a different need. I have a different set of resources available. So I modify it to my need. So when you look at technology in conservation, whether it is a radio collar, whether it is a sensor, whether it is an IoT device, whether it is a audio bug, all these things came out because we had a need.
Yes, I agree to you fully here, but I want to go into a little more detail. So we discussed prediction models in Hawk and Sarpa. There is also a good amount of computer vision in it. So would you like to explain to our audience what what computer vision is and how you use it in Hawk and Sarpa?
I don't think I can explain that at this point of time with the kind of data which I am handling. We are working on it at this point of time. See, if I haven't done it, I could not tell. It is there to certain extent, but it is. I mean, both models. I'm not in a place where I can, explain it with.
Snakes might be a little difficult, but can it detect mammals?
See, the thing is with snakes, for example, identifying a snake from a photograph or using a computer to identify. So here is my challenge. Why I'm a bit careful about is that when I get a photograph of a snake, the other person on the other side of the technology is asking me a very critical question. Is it venomous or not?
Yes.
So now, if my computer prediction make a slight mistake of
it's a question of life.
Yes. So then it is a question of life. So that is why ethically, I cannot tell that, oh, my computer vision. I'm working on an AI model where we have achieved about 80% of accuracy identifying species. But the problem is
But
that,
what kind of species?
yeah, I'm openly I'm telling, I can identify, or the algorithms which are developed, the models which can developed can identify a crate from a cobra, or from a cobra
Wow.
from a rat snake, to a 90% accurate or 96% accurate. But the problem, the challenge is that most commonly, the circumstances will be different. Like somebody is sending me a photograph of a snake which is partially visible, and if my system identify a cobra as a rat snake, then there is a major challenge if it is
Yes.
involving a snake bite. But let me talk about other systems. There are
Yes.
a number of, so that is why I said with Hawk and Sarpa, I'm not. But there are a number of camera-based systems. I call them as camera-based system, visual systems, which are now
Okay.
able to identify animals almost accurately. Like tigers, they can the accuracy level is 0.999. So it's like if on a good day,
They know
the snake
basically.
can
Yes.
identify, and in real time. So it's not that you don't need to, you need to send the image to a processing. Like from video feeds, they're identifying tigers, leopards, sloth bears, a human being, elephants. So many of these large bodied animals, systems are able to identify, and that is already used in conflict mitigation scenarios where cameras, both IR cameras, normal cameras, even thermal cameras are used for detecting these animals. So things which I'm aware about, systems which are already deployed in India, in as we speak, these systems are used in many parts of the country, where the cameras are detecting. For example, the camera will detect the presence of a tiger. It will trigger a set of software things, and it will send warnings through a mobile application or an SMS or a hooter sound to the nearest village, saying that there is a tiger in the vicinity of camera A1. So that's a prediction. That's not a prediction. That is actually
Detection.
giving information to the community that there is a tiger in the vicinity. So the probability of the tiger entering into the village or entering into the farmland is very high. So in a way, that
Alert
is,
systems.
it's an
These
alert.
these are okay. Yeah. Alert systems.
Yeah.
So there's computer vision. Um, is there an application of language processing? I believe when people talk over the phone, talk nearby, you can summarize also what they are talking, or detect that somebody is talking.
See, that is already there. There are systems which can detect various sounds, and they can tell you what it is. For example, not in India largely, but in many African countries, IoT-based systems are used. All these smaller devices which are used for detecting various sounds in an ecosystem, in a forest. For example, the system can trigger if it detects an axe sound, if somebody is cutting a tree, or a chainsaw, or a motorcycle sound, or a vehicle sound. So these audio bugs will collect this, I mean, process this information, and immediately send an information if it
Trigger.
is, yeah, if it gets something which is supposed to be alerted about. So for example, if I install one of these devices in the forest, and I program it in such a way that if there is a motorcycle, if there is a car, if there is an axe sound, you should alert. So then the system will, so it will not alert you when there is a sound of a bird, or normal wind sound. It will not alert. But anyway, when it will detect that there is a motorcycle sound, it
Yeah.
can alert the system, or it can alert when there is a person talking in the background. So these kind of systems are used in wildlife conservation across the world. Some application is done in India also. But Anirban, and also also the people who attend, please don't think that, see, why are we doing all these things? I mean, I would like to walk the forest and experience this. I would like to go for a patrol and see a suspect entering into the forest, or I would like to go to a forest and do, you should not be replacing your human element completely with the technology. Technology, in my opinion, should be used when it is needed. So you should not take away the the spirit of wildlifing or spirit of conservation from the human being. I mean, maybe 10 years down the line, the virtual reality, when I'm old, when I'm in my 70s, and I am not able to walk the forest, probably the augmented reality can give me an experience of forest around me. But as long as you can walk the forest, please walk the forest, please experience the forest. So don't leave all these things to the to the cameras and devices. I'm sorry, but even in this forum, I warn people that don't lose the fun of enjoying forest.
This kind of actually takes me to a question. So these are IT things. So we will come back to sensors after some time. How do your people perceive technology on the ground? Do they welcome tech, and how do all the moving parts work? Because you are engaging tech, pretty fast tech there, not only high end tech but pretty fast with sensors, with AI, with mobile networks you are connecting, and then you have people who have to get up, go there and do their thing, which is the final act of anti-poaching, catching the poachers, or something, right? So how do all these moving blocks work together in tandem?
Okay, when you say moving blocks, it is the various elements in the whole equation, correct? People,
Yes.
technology, machinery, everything. So that's
And animals.
and animals, everything. So it's the technology is just an um, invisible line which connects all these people. So let's take an example that if you install a camera in the forest. So let me go back in 2016-17. A good friend of mine who's a forest officer, Mr. Manu Satyan, and I were responsible for setting up a remote camera inside a forest in Periyar. So it was fun experimenting with the technology. So that's one thing. So how to bring technology to people. So it was fun. Like both of us had our interest in technology. So we set up a camera, like a remote camera, about 30-40 kilometers inside the forest, and we were trying to build a network, and we were learning a lot of things. So in that process, there were forest guards who were well educated, and they said they came and they started working with us. So forest guard who started working with us, who was done his bachelor's, and he in turn he started learning it. So he understood it. Today, he is handling an array of smart cameras across Periyar. His name is Sibu. So he is handling an array of cameras. He's a forest guard. I don't think he has got a promotion in the recent past. So now look at the human element, that you are interested in technology, but also you have to bring people, because you can develop technology, and if you develop technology, you install technology, and if people are not there to maintain it, look after it, it is useless. One thing. Second thing is that a camera or a mobile application like Sarpa, if somebody report a snake from their house, if there is no mechanism to respond, if there is no rescuer who will open his mobile phone and look at the photograph and say that, press the button that I am coming for rescue, then it is mobile phones or devices cannot do all these things. So technology is something which is assisting you. So there is a need for building the culture around the technology. Sometimes people are scared. Sometimes people are worried about, am I able to, or will I be able to use the technology? So you have to simplify the technology for your target group. Many times technological interventions or technological innovations failed because the person who designed the technology is a PhD in computer science, or is an electronics engineer, and he will design a technology which you will think that it is very easy. You have to put this button, that button, and give this command and things will work. No, you have to build technologies which are very simple for people to use, very easy to maintain, and very easy to understand, and very easy to scale up or scale down. That is when the culture of technology will build. So it has to be a very conscious decision, how you design your technology, how you will communicate the technology to people. Sometimes, Anirban, sorry, I'm taking one more.
No,
Sometimes,
perfectly all right.
when we were implementing Hawk in a new state, it's a computer-based thing. The first question some forest guards will ask, or a range officer will ask, that, sir, will it work? Will it work? Will it be a very complicated system? Is it another system which I have to learn? I have to spend 3-4 days to understand it, or maybe please remember how we learned Excel or Word. It took time for us to learn Excel and Word, all the functions,
Yes.
how to underline a text. So that learning process has to be very smooth. So today, for example, Hawk, we give only 1 day training to the frontline forest guards. to use hawk. I mean, the basic thing is that they need to know how to read and write. That's it. They could understand. They should be able to understand what is written on the screen. So we tell people that just look at the screen. The system is asking you something. System is telling you something. Press the button and select. That's it. So you have to think always about the UI and the UX, the user interface and the user experience. Any technology. It is not only limited to a computer. If you design a switch, if you design a hinge, if you design a wire, everything has to be in such a way that it is user friendly. If you develop something, if you develop a wire which can be connecting a device, if you don't design it in such a way that it is easy for people, it will fail. And people will say that it doesn't work. That's as simple as that. So everything what you design in technology should be simple.
Around people.
For the people.
You have been a pioneer in anti-poaching.
I can't say that I'm a pioneer. I worked on, poaching.
20 years. Yeah. You have spent 20 years. Come on.
Yeah.
So in this 20 years, you have seen systems which has used IT and AI, which has used just IT, and systems in the past which has not used anything. How have you seen the transition, and do you think systems now are more engaging and better in efficiency? How many attempts can you stop now, which you couldn't have if you did not have tech or AI? I made a very complicated statement.
Yeah, it's a very interesting and a complicated question, but I love this question because
I wish I could have framed it better, but okay.
No, that is fine. You got it correct. I mean, the pitch is correct, the height is correct. So let me connect them. See, the thing is, crime, whether it is wildlife crime or human-related crime is a very complex thing. In wildlife crime investigation, or let me talk any crime investigation, information, data, analysis is very important. So earlier, if you look at wildlife crime, there was not much of this analytical work going on. So it was all manual process. A suspect is arrested, questions are asked, he is answered, some investigation is done, some evidence is collected. So that is also, in a way, it was a different way of analyzing. One investigator is analyzing with his mind. But now when things changed, when the mobile phones came, things started changing. Like, you started looking at the mobile call records. You started understanding that who called whom after whom. And then a little more advanced mobile technology came. Then you started looking at, which tower location the person was there. What is the pattern of the person when he woke up, when he slept. I mean, you are able to find the homing location of a person from a mobile phone records. Like, what is the last phone call he makes and what location he will be in. That means that is a place where he goes and sleep. That's where his house is. So when you look at mobile data or digital footprints of people, you understand a lot about a person. You understand, I mean, if you look at it a little more advanced today in investigations, if people look at the Google search patterns, the Wi-Fi's which you connected, you're getting a lot of auxiliary information. Let me scare people around that, investigation agency can look at that, your Uber travel patterns, like where you took a car from, where you got dropped, which food you ordered, which city you were. So you are actually giving a lot of information, which website you used for booking your ticket. If you use makemytrip.com, what is your banking details, where you travel from it. So all this information, so you're getting a lot of different information. All this information is not, humanly, it is not possible for you to analyze it. So in wildlife crime investigation or any crime investigation, if you develop systems which can collect and collate and analyze this information, you will be able to analyze a lot of things. So in wildlife crime investigation in India, I must say that there were some cases where all these capabilities are used very efficiently by the Forest Department or Wildlife Crime Control Bureau or police who assisted it. It may not come out in the open as investigation techniques or tools or the methodology they used, but I can tell you that today wildlife crime, they use mobile forensics, they do cyber patrolling, they will collect a lot of information on open source intelligence, OSINT. So all these things are giving you clearer picture about what is happening in wildlife crime. Now, the whole, I mean, what makes the difference is the commitment of the investigation officer. You put 10 computers, supercomputers, and analyze the data, churn out results, and nobody's going to take an action based on that. It doesn't matter. It's useless. But the investigation officer analyzed the financial transactions of the person and correlate it with his movement pattern, and he will say that, okay, now I will investigate this in real life, because you cannot arrest a computer in an investigation. You cannot say that you transacted. You need an entity behind that digital identity. You may get a handle like, jostanni@gmail.com or Anirban 123 at sifemail.com or something. But who's the identity behind it? So that investigation has to happen. So what I'm telling is that all this technology can help you to drive you to a particular direction, but ultimately the person who is investigating the crime, the team which is investigating the crime has to take action to prevent or to mitigate the consequences of an attempt or a crime which is already committed. I know it's a very long answer, but that's how it is.
I'm very happy about the answer, because this is kind of leading me to a couple of more questions, but I'll not ask right now. I'll wait, because I have a very important topic to cover: sensors. Okay. We kind of skipped sensors in the previous question. We'll come back to it now. People have been using sensors left, right, and center. Among all the IT tools, I think this is the most popular tool that we have, and we use it a lot in wildlife conservation. This is so popular that we have motion sensing in our daily lives in smart homes, and even in my niece's class 6 syllabus, we have sensors. So in wildlife conservation, how exactly have you used sensors, or how have you seen other people in other orgs use sensors?
A number of sensors are used. The first sensing technology could be the camera traps. When the first camera traps were developed, it was a pressure sensor. So let's go back in the 80s. It was a pressure sensor. It was a pressure pad. When an animal walked on a particular pressure pad, the camera triggered. So they put an SLR camera and everything. Just the cable release, the old cable release, just fired the camera and they took the photographs. So that was basically the invention of the camera trap. Correct. So that is where the sensor started being used in wildlife. Then probably it was upgraded into camera traps. So camera traps got an IR sensor, motion sensors. Anything move in front of a camera, it will trigger the camera, because then the digital technology came. Probably that is an upgrade from the electronics to, or mechanical to electronics to digital. So camera traps became a very useful tool in wildlife conservation, that the motion sensor, the IR sensors started giving a lot of results. Then if you look at it, then there was the radio collars. But it is not exactly sensors. If you look at it, it was VHF. But if you look at, there was a communication, that there was radio waves used, the radio frequencies used. And then the advanced radio collars now has got a motion sensor, thermal sensor, heat sensor. So everything that, the health of the animal can be transmitted. I mean, one of our project, the whale shark conservation project, we use satellite tags on whale sharks. So, the satellite tags are giving at what depth the animal went. There is a pressure sensor, and what speed the animal moved. What is the temperature of the water in that sea? So every day, every 24 hours, once in a while, when the animal is up in the water, it will transmit the data to a satellite, and it is giving. It's actually everything is put in a compact compact satellite tag. It's giving you a lot of information. These sensors are working on a whale shark. I mean, in the middle of the sea, the kind of information which you probably could not get in the past. So that kind of sensors are used. Now, if you look at optic sensors, you're using a lot of camera optic sensors for various purposes, because optic sensors are sensing animals and they're transmitting into it's a CMOS sensor. It is transmitting to a computer, and it is helping you to identify the animal. But then there is use of IoT enabled devices. There are a number of things, like if you look at the smart electric fences, there are using sensors. If the voltage is going down, it's a voltage sensor. It will talk about that, okay, the voltage is going below 10 volt. So the fence will give an alarm. So basically, many of the sensors were not probably designed specifically for wildlife, but it was developed for something else, but you found the use in wildlife. So it is what I call as the customization of the sensors and technology.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So then the other thing which is commonly used nowadays is the drones. Again, optical sensors. But
Yeah.
a drone which can be connected with many other sensors or loaded with many other sensors can do much more. Rain gauges, auto weather stations, they are using sensors. They are using sensors to look at the wind speed, the moisture content in the surroundings, or your temperature, like early warning fire systems. They are using sensors. So there are a number of sensors, but the fire warning system probably was not invented or developed or researched thinking that this
For
is used
wildlife
in the
conservation.
forest. No, it must be used. I mean, maybe the fire sensor was designed, the temperature sensor was designed for a hotel room, for a high security place, that if there is a temperature goes beyond this, it should sense a smoke sensor. Now that sensor can be used in the wildlife, in wildlife. So the thing is, it is the customization of your sensor technology to meet the demands of wildlife conservation. So these things can sense and it can transmit, and that's very useful. So probably that's a kind of sensors which are used.
Beyond Wildlife Trust of India in the Indian ecosystem, how do you see the adoption of AI and IT, probably AI because it will be a little more niche, in wildlife conservation? Because there are other organizations who have been working, other governments who have been taking initiatives. So, how do you see the landscape evolving?
The good thing in last 5 years, AI and technology is becoming the buzzword. Everybody is interested in technology. So there is no, and as India, there is a lot of many of our startups, many of our organizations, they are all very happy building or developing technology. So it's a conducive, it's a very supportive, it's a very positive ecosystem for technology development in India. And many state forest departments are very open to technology innovation or implementation on the ground. And many institutions, I mean, not only Wildlife Trust of India, Wildlife Institute of India, Dr. Ramesh and team who are working, I mean, maybe 10 years back or 15 years back, he and his team started working on various intrusion detection models. There were initiatives in central India by state forest department. There are universities, or there are IITs or engineering colleges which came up with technology. So if you ask me how open we are about technology, is we are probably very open to technology. Very little resistance you will find in technology innovation and implementation in the field. So I'll say that the Indian ecosystem, the kind of mindset, the kind of approach is very positive for adopting technology.
There's a question from Eric, which I would like to take now. He asks how to explore more on the AI opportunities in wildlife, or your advice for grad data science students or old data science students who want to explore more on this. Do you also release data sets for people to explore, for young students to
Um,
explore, maybe university collaborations now or in the future?
no. Definitely we will, because sometimes the problem or the factual thing is that, for example, the data sometimes about wildlife is classified confidential data. So you have to respect that kind of data. For example, Hawk system handles a lot of crime related data.
Yeah.
Data which is sensitive, so that's not
Yes.
available for I mean, even for me as a developer of the system, I don't have an
Mm.
access to that data. I have access to the data as a file, but it is useless for me because it's encrypted and kept. So only an authorized login can use the data. So yes, but some of the data, like some of research
Snake
projects,
data from SERPA,
take data, of
example.
course. We are working with a couple of researchers already to analyze this data. So that kind of no, not that sensitive data can be given for analysis. My personal view is that if you collect a lot of data and sit on the data, it is useless. What are you collecting this data for? I mean, if I have 25,000 records of cobra sightings in a particular region, unless and until I analyze the data and understand what is happening, then what is the use of data?
Uh, do you also release data for open source people to work on?
Not yet, not yet. So It is, I call as a need to know basis. It's a strict enforcement language. Probably that's in my DNA. So if somebody wants to analyze the data, it should be, I mean, if I'm working with a state forest department or a government agency, the data belongs to them, and it will be shared only under a agreement or under a strict MOU. So I'm not telling that, data should not be shared, but responsible data sharing is very important.
When we work with different companies as data scientists or as decision scientists, when we work with a lot of people who are way more experienced, okay, they want dashboards. In fact, in your projects also, you have very nice looking dashboards. Okay. So these real-time updates come to live dashboards, and these are becoming very central. How, in your opinion, do these change the way enforcement authorities work, the conservation on-ground people work, and how did it change over the years? Are they reluctant? Are they lazy? Are they like, aane do?
No.
Okay.
I love dashboards, because dashboards,
Everyone does now.
Prepare for a long answer.
Yeah.
Dashboards are what I call as dashboards at access level restricted dashboards. So, for example, the dashboard of a range officer in a forest department, let's look at that, will be different, because he is looking at a lot of detailed data in his range. But the same data, when it goes to the DFO, the number of fields, the details of data will be lesser, but he also will have a dashboard. To a CF, it will be smaller. To the APCCF, it will be different. And to the chief wildlife warden, it will be simple dashboard. It will be just numbers and some colors. So if all goes well, if everything is all right, he should get a green. If there is some problem, it is an orange. It is lesser problem, it is, sorry.
Exactly. It should be the other way around.
The other way around. That's the problem. Yeah. So if there is everything all right, it is a good green. If there is some problem, it is a yellow. A little more problem, then it is an orange. And if there are problems, it is red. So everything at the top and on a dashboard should be represented in these 4 colors. A decision maker, the topmost official, should not be looking at the details. He should be looking at a conflict database dashboard or a system dashboard. The system should just show him an emoji with a nice smiling face. If things
are all right,
it will say that things are all right. That's the dashboard. But so that at a top level, your dashboard will tell that. But he can click on that, and then he can go one step down, and he can look at the details. That I got everything good from all my divisions. Now imagine the emoji's face is a little changed.
Angry.
So a little angry. So you know that,
sad.
Okay, out of your 12 divisions, there is one division, there is a problem. Then you can click on that, and you can go to that particular division and see that what is going wrong in that division. So your dashboards are very, very important, very handy tools or handy interface in decision making. So you have to gather all the sets of data and summarize it in dashboards and present it to the people concerned in certain manner. So I don't want somebody who is looking after the entire state to have a dashboard with say 256 different fields. No need. He should have a dozen fields on his screen. It should be very clear that everything is good. I mean, at what rating. You can use a color code, you can use a graph, or you can use an emoji. I don't mind what you use to tell that. So then in one look, in 2 seconds, you will know out of this 12 different variables or indicators what is doing good, what is not doing good. This is used a lot in businesses. That if you look at a big company, the CEO or the vice president of the company, he is not looking at everything. Like, he is not looking at how many packets of cigarettes you sold or how many packets of milk packets you sold. He is looking at a dashboard. He is looking at overall sales on that day, whether it is 2 crores or 5 crores. So there may be a target on that particular day, 4 crores you should meet. If it is 4 crore plus, then the system will be green. If it is less than 4 crore, it will be orange, it will be red. So then he will know that out of my 12 companies, one company is not doing good. Click there and find out where it is good, which particular arm, which particular vertical is not doing good. The same algorithms, the same approach can be used in wildlife conservation. Do you have conflict happening today? Do you have your cases all intact today? Do you have any wildlife deaths reported today? Do you have any encroachment things today? So these are the big things which a forest authority or a conservation authority will be looking at. So he should have a dashboard which is giving all this information. So that is how the dashboard should be. The lower you are in the rank, the more details you will get. But then your geographical data is limited. So a range officer should not be worried about what is happening in 2 districts away in another range. He should be worried about his range. He should have detailed information. He should have information from mobile phones. He should have information from other systems. He should have information from sensors, everything. So he will say that my range is all good. So that will contribute to the higher ups. So that is how the dashboards should work. I'm sorry for a long answer, but people confuse dashboards. People think that dashboard should have so many icons, so many buttons. No, the higher you go, the simpler the dashboard is. And let me tell you, my Hawk dashboard of a chief wildlife warden got only 3 or 4 rows. That's it. So in that 4 rows, he will be able to know that how many cases are in there, how many people are there how many habitual offenders are there, how many cases are in the court, how many cases registered, how many cases are under investigation, how many cases are currently trialed, how many cases we got conviction, how many cases we failed. That's all he need to know. But clicking on that, he can go further, he can dig in. That's it. Sorry.
Given how media portrays, I'm sorry, there's a bug in the system. We use Webinar Jam, and there's a bug currently. In case you are getting this notification, I have no idea why this is there. Yes, but this might get closed in 15 minutes. So when you broached this topic, how did people react? I'm not sure if everybody took it very positively.
It doesn't matter.
You had to do it, so you did it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Let's take a couple of.
That's a blunt answer. That see, why are we bringing technology to make systems more accountable, transparent, and efficient? Why are you bringing these systems? This is to make your life easier. If I am building a system which will reduce the number of days taken to register a case from 5 days to 5 hours, then I am ensuring that the forest guard will get his sleep, or he will get his 5 hours or 10 hours of patrolling time in the field. So my system is making the system efficient, the functioning efficient. So if I am building that, be prepared that you will have challenges. You will have operational challenges, you will have cultural challenges, you will have technological challenges.
Currently, we are having a technological challenge.
Yeah, so that is part and parcel of it, and you have to deal with it. There is no shortcut. And I can't say that, oh, people don't like what I'm developing. It's your responsibility to make it likable, make it lovable. Did WhatsApp ask us that before they developed the software, they asked us how you like it, not like it? They came up with the software. It made it. I say that WhatsApp is the simplest user interface. There is nobody training you to use WhatsApp. 3-year-old, 4-year-old kids are using WhatsApp. So they made technology very simple, and there were challenges. They improvised it. That's how every technology should develop. Yeah.
To all the people here, we are going directly to the questions. This system is going to shut down in the next 10 minutes. I do not know why. I'm going to pick it up when I have the chance. We will go directly to the questions. And if the system does not shut down, we will take the conversation forward. And in case we have more questions, then Jose, will you be open to having another session?
Well, yes, not a problem. If there are questions.
This question is from Prutiti Nath, and she asks, how do you bridge the technological gaps in the field? Can you give us an example of how rangers faced bottlenecks?
Technological gap is that, implementations will always have certain gaps. For example, simple things like connectivity, availability of hardware, availability of people who are trained, who are able to use, or the skill set of people. So these are the usual challenges. Sometimes I say that the user is the biggest bottleneck or roadblock. So then you have to have plans for addressing each of it. So if you simply develop a technology without understanding the ground reality, you will not be able to implement it. So if you don't want to face bottlenecks, then you have to analyze it before you implement or start a project. So you do a ground truthing. You discuss with people on the ground that what are the problems which you face. Both projects, SERPA and Hawk, or any other projects which I have undertaken. So the ground reality check is a very important thing that will help you to preempt this possible bottlenecks.
Do you think India, or in our landscape, in our ecosystem, we are data ready to implement more complex solutions?
Well, considering India as the country, we are masters of data management. But are we ready to implement? That's a big question. That is the machinery. Whether you have the machinery and bandwidth to implement the findings of a computer system, that is a challenge. The operational challenges, I will call. If a system will say that if you don't patrol or if you don't protect the boundary between this month and this month, there will be a possibility of intrusion, then you need people to be there, or you have to erect something which will prevent people from coming in. So that responses depends on the resource availability and the commitment.
Chitra Mishra Sharma asks, what role do partnerships between tech companies, governments, and NGOs play in deploying AI for conservation?
There is a lot of synergy between government and NGOs or institutions. It is how you approach. I mean, many times people ask, "Oh, how you implement technology?" I remember when we worked on a long back, again another 7-8 years back, when I was working on a smart fence technology. Like if the fence is broken, can we develop a device which can send a signal? So you have to go to a forest department. You have to. I mean, it was an engineering college student project. So I told them that go and meet the DFO. Tell him that this is what you want to do, and communicate, talk, present, and then it is easy. So if you think that the government will come or some officer will come and ask you for technology, that happens very rarely. So you have to communicate. You have to tell that I have an idea, and that's how projects start. So it's all about communicating and presenting your idea, and having a clear vision and a workable idea. Just let me add one more thing. Sometimes some of these ideas, I come across with a lot of ideas. They are absolutely not practical. It's very good as a project. It is very good as a theory. It is very good as a concept. But you have to look at whether it is implementable in the field. I ask two questions. The success of a technology or innovation is that when you have version 10 ready, you can develop version 1, then it will 1.1, and then the number of systems which will go to the next editions will come down. So when you have a version 10 or when you have even a version 5, then you know that the technology is developed. It is progressing. Otherwise, at version 1.0, pilot, tested, done, and dead.
I so want to ask you more questions on this, and I will in personal talks, but we really have to rush now. Pratitinath asks, how far the Indian wildlife policies support AI enabled devices and equipment usage?
Sorry, I missed it for a moment.
How far the Indian wildlife policies support AI enabled devices and equipment usage?
There is no policy written anywhere saying that they will support. As far as I know, maybe I don't know much about it, but nothing is stopping you from using AI. There is no policy which says that AI should not be used. So as long as it is not there, say that it is. See, AI. Nobody is telling that AI should be, but AI is already used for wildlife detection or wildlife sensors. They are using AI. Camera trap images are processed through AI. Earlier, it was somebody sitting there throughout the whole night and deciding that which image or which animal it is. Today, AI just upload the folder and it is doing it. So that is very, very, what do you call it? Very open to. Yeah.
Madhushri asks, how can students studying AI IT get involved in conservation, or even how does any student get get involved?
I don't have a direct answer. If you have an interest in wildlife conservation and technology, probably find an organization like Wildlife Trust of India or some other organization and start working with us. That is the best thing. Like I once upon a time, I was a computer person. My whole dream and life was that I thought that I will do good in computer science. I strayed into wildlife conservation, and I used my IT knowledge to develop systems and also build my team. It's not a Please, it's not one person. It's a team behind. If I'm sitting and talking to you, there is a huge team behind me who's doing all this work. So they are all youngsters. I got BTech graduates who fresh from the college started working on conservation technology, and they never went look back. My lead developer Alan and Sobin, two of them, soon after their BTech, they started working on a mobile application. I mean, during their final year project, that was their mobile application was their project on snakes. And after that, probably they never got a chance to do anything else. They develop technology for conservation. So it's your commitment and it is your interest, and then opportunities, and make use of the opportunity.
This has been an incredible session so far. There is a question from Devangsh and Uma. But I fear we cannot take the questions now.
No, Anirban, if you don't mind, because Uma, at least I know her.
Okay.
So
this link will close in the next 3 minutes.
Yeah, I'll answer it in 30 seconds. I mean, it's an answer to Uma, because Uma was part of my team long back when we were discussing about all this technology. Yes, say this is working. Let's scale this up. As when we were able to look at a particular database and we were able to find a person who was involved previously in the similar crime, and the system just popped it up and said that this person probably is this person. I mean, your X is probably Y. So that is when we understood that, okay, fine, it is working. Let's scale it up. Yeah, there were a number of such incidents.
Okay. My team is saying that we can take the questions and post them online on Instagram. So probably they'll be taking some backup of the questions. Jose, this has been such an incredible session. I look forward to having you on this podcast one more time, where I ask you the rest of the topics I really wanted to talk to you about. In this session, we not only explored which components of AI and IT we use in wildlife conservation, we also went in a little deeper with examples like SARPA and Hawk. I wish we could discuss more, but this is the first time we are having a technical glitch. Maybe we sort this out and we come back really quick. Next week, if Jose could make some time, we sit again. Next week, we also have another guest. And that discussion is also going to be pretty impactful. I wish all of us, I wish all of us who have joined here today and have stayed till now, only 3 people have dropped in the last 58 minutes of conversation. This is good. We thank you so very much. Jose, any closing comment? Maybe how to pronounce your name?
It depends. Like, people call me Jose, people call me Jose, people call me Jose. When my father is angry, he'll call me Jose. So anything, that's absolutely fine. But yeah, it's a good conversation, and thank you each one of you who are around. And if I just shared my email ID, if you have a question, please write to me. I'm more than happy to collaborate, discuss, and that is how it was always. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So far, it is not disconnected.
You got 63 seconds. Sorry, 53 seconds now.
53 seconds now? Yeah. Some systems have bugs. And we discover bugs in the middle of an experience we do not want to let go of.